PlayStation had a very, very interesting earnings call where they talked about how many consoles that they've sold, how their monthly active users are doing. And I wanted to go over a few of the interesting points about how tariffs might impact them and a lot of the details that we got. Because, normally we talk about console sales and how that's doing. That is interesting, but a lot more was said about how they're stockpiling consoles, about how they don't want to do price increases. Let's get into it all right now. So I was just up late. I ended up covering it live as it was happening. So I think I was one of the first to be discussing it along with like Genki Japan, who I really, really like. But here are the main details that we got. So long story short, the PlayStation financials are out. They sold 77.7 million PS5 sold. I know I tweeted 8, but it's actually 7. That's up 2.8 million since last quarter. 80% of all of their game sales are digital in Q4, and they had 124 million monthly active users in Q4. That is down 5 million from Q3. Q3 is actually Christmas time, so that kind of makes sense. Now, I also included the game sales. One thing to note about the game sales, and I did post that in the thread later on, their game sales have not been updated. For example, Astrobot is still reporting that they only have 1.5 million units sold. So take all of these with a grain of salt, knowing that PlayStation does need to update these statistics to be more accurate. Looking at what they reported in the documentation, though, it was 13.2 million for Spider-Man 1, 6.5 million for Miles Morales, and 10 million for Spider-Man 2. The original God of War is up to 23 million now. Ragnarok is at 15 million. Helldivers 2 is at 12 million. And the original Horizon Zero Dawn has now sold 20 million units. Some very impressive numbers on the game sales front. And I would love to get some updated statistics for you, but that is all we have right now. A big shout out to Genki Japan, who was also up about the same time, where he said many outlets are reporting 77.8 million, but the official figure from Sony is 77.7 million, likely just a small rounding error. And he is right. He caught me on that. I did I did the math from 75 million to the and added the increase, but it was actually 74.9 million. If you remember a few months back, a lot of people were reporting 75 million, so I used that number, but that's not actually where it is at currently. Let's talk about what this means, though, in terms of console sales. Now, Andy Robinson has this chart showing where the PlayStation 4 versus PlayStation 5 is in terms of sales. And as you know, I have my crazy person chart where I track the console sales of PlayStation, and anytime a new leak comes out for Xbox, we add to it to get a more concrete number. Usually it's like the Take-Two earnings call gives us an indication of where they are. But here's where PlayStation sits. So they're only 1.5 million console sales behind where the PlayStation 4 is. Now, that is a 1.8% decrease in console sales to date from where the PlayStation 4 was. But that gap has narrowed, surprisingly, from last quarter, remember Christmas quarter, where they had only sold 2.3% fewer last quarter. So that gap is getting more and more narrow. The question is, will the PlayStation 5 end up surpassing the PlayStation 4 this late into its life cycle? Time will tell, but I have to imagine part of the reason that they're stockpiling PlayStation 5s is because they want to hit that goal. Fun fact, Sony stockpiled PS5 consoles in the United States so they'd have a 3-month supply as they waited for the tariff situation to pan out. Now, I watched the live webcast. I have it captured, and I clipped a few of the more important moments from that event, but they have been stockpiling consoles in the United States because they're not sure what they're going to do about the console situation. Now, they do expect this is going to wipe out 100 billion yen, approximately 680 million US dollars, off its yearly operating income, and they're considering its response to them. We are responding quickly to the additional U.S. tariffs that have already been implemented and are considering responses to multiple possible future scenarios. Now, what's really, really interesting about that is they've been talking about how they've been more financially responsible. They've kind of got spending in check on a lot of their companies, and now the rubber's sort of hitting the road in terms of them needing to deliver. Now, they are taking a look at how this is going to impact them. Here's what they said.
Regarding the tariff, let me answer to the tariff question. 100 billion yen impact have been it's assuming the official tariff rate, which has been announced in hardware. Hardware business is included in this. In terms of our portfolio, GNS, games, and also ETNS and INSS, semiconductors. So those three segments, we are actually incorporating on par basis from these three businesses. In terms of the tariff, we are not just simply calculating the simple tariff to come up with 100 billion yen, but thinking about the currently available information and also looking at the market trend, we may pass on to the price and also shipment allocation. So we are taking a different measures in managing to come up to the 100 billion yen impact. That's what we are thinking.
So I'm just going to edit that in because I actually had it clipped out on my timeline. And then in addition to that, Hiroki Totoki had a little bit of a speech where he talked about how they're actually considering some really interesting things, including beginning manufacturing PlayStation 5s in the United States as an option to get around tariffs, which is what I believe President Trump's goal was. So I mean, time will tell how that ends up working out, but they are considering it. They're considering all options in regard to tariffs because I don't think that they want to raise price again. They really, really want to hit that number where they surpass the PlayStation 4, and they are very, very close to hitting that.
In the entertainment, rather than saying for entertainment segment, I want to look at it from the hardware segment and the software segment. And in entertainment, gaming, like consoles, these hardwares, of course, can be produced locally. I think that would be an efficient strategy. But PS5 is are being manufactured in many areas. Whether it's going to be manufactured in the U.S. or not, it needs to be considered going forward. We're not in such a critical situation.
And then Shinobi had a pretty big recap of all the news, just in case I missed anything. PlayStation business is doing really well. The PlayStation 5 sold 18.5 million consoles in 24. 28 million in Q4, reaching 77.7 million lifetime. I don't know where the 77.8 is coming from. Maybe it's in their reports. Revenue 31.5 billion. They're up 9%. Operating income up 43%. Software sales 14% up. So that is 286 to 303 million. They attributed that to increase in third-party sales and DLC. First-party sales are down, however. They declined from 39.7 million units to 28.9 million units. Launches like Astrobot and Lego Horizon and Spider-Man 2 and Helldivers 2 were all out the year before, and they did say that they would have a quiet year this year. Network and services in Q4, revenue is down there 3%, and profit is down 12% to 630 million. Hardware revenue dropped 6% in financial year 2024. Network services increased 23%. That's what I'm talking about with digital distribution. Like, that's the future. They want network services. They want all of that additional billing because that revenue is going up. Physical hardware and physical things are decreasing. Their expectations for 2025 are that revenue is going to go down 6.5% due to decrease in hardware sales and foreign exchange rates. Monthly active users, I missed that one. That is up 5% to 124 million. Now that is up 5% year over year. I did quarter to quarter to show the decrease in users, just to make clarity there. They expect financial year 25 profit to decrease from 8.8 billion to 8.2 due to the tariffs. They expect first-party games growth, Ghost of Yotei, Death Stranding 2, Marathon, Destiny 2, etc. I think out of all those games, I think Ghost of Yotei is going to do great. I think Death Stranding 2 is going to do great. I think Marathon is not going to do great. I think it's going to be a negative outcome on Marathon, unfortunately. And in Destiny 2, I think that one's going to kind of do as average as it does on average. They expect to ship 15 million PlayStation 5 units through March 2026, bringing total to 92.7 million consoles. And Sony is working to mitigate the impact of tariffs by diversifying production, stockpiling consoles, etc. The forecast did not include GTA 6, which was delayed to financial year 2025. So all in all, a very strong showing from PlayStation this quarter. You know, we talked about what Xbox is doing. Xbox raised the price of all their consoles. Their console sales have been struggling, but they have been seeing a lot of growth in terms of monthly active users and people online. And now PlayStation has clarified that monthly active users are going to be a key metric for them going forward. So that's what I have for you today. The PlayStation financials were quite interesting in my opinion. I love that stuff, so I always find it cool. And I find you cool if you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when my content goes live. Thanks for watching, everybody. A big thank you to the members, Christopher, Eddie, Inner Machine. Oops, Inner Machine dropped. Phil Aroni, Spin Getter, Aries EMS, but a big shout out to Inner Machine for supporting when he did. If you want to support on YouTube, you can click that join button, or you can support over on patreon.com/SaveStatePlus. That is probably the best spot to do so. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want to check out my report about what Unity is doing with some independent developers, you can check it out over there, and I will see you for the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody.